I think we can start now. Are you able to hear me, Sangamesh and Neetu?
Yes, Abhishek.
Okay. A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I'm Abhishek from the marketing team. I'm the marketing manager, and today we'll be discussing the evolving carbon market from its journey and market infrastructure to carbon credit pricing and the opportunity emerging ahead. Over the course of this session, we'll look at how carbon markets have evolved, the role of carbon registries and standards, how the market is shifting from a volume driven to a more value and quality driven approach, and importantly, what factors are influencing carbon credit prices today. We'll also touch upon some of the emerging areas in the market, including carbon removals, biochar, direct air capture, Article 6, and compliance linked demand. To take us through these different aspects, we have two speakers with us. Our first speaker is Sangameshwara, Senior Manager of Registry Operations, Standards, and Compliance at Procline. To talk about Sangameshwara, he's an electrical engineer with 19 years of experience in carbon markets and sustainability. He has worked extensively on registration, issuance, and trading of carbon credit projects across major registries, including Vera, Gold Standard, Isometric, Puro Earth, and CDM. His experience also spans commercial and operational aspects of carbon markets and carbon project evaluation. Our second speaker is Neetu Yadav, Carbon Trading Manager at Procline. Neetu brings experience across carbon management, emissions reduction, and sustainable practices with a focus on developing impactful climate solutions. So today, together, they'll take us through the topic in two parts, starting with carbon market journey, registries and evolving market landscape, followed by a closer look at carbon credit pricing, the factors driving value, and where the market is heading. So let's begin with the first part of this session. Sangameshwara, over to you.
Thank you, Abhishek, for the long introduction. So, I'll start with the carbon market journey, how the carbon market has been established. So, a very important milestone was the US acid rain program, which was developed in 1990s with the Clean Air Act amendment. So the basic principle of this act was set a limit, allow company to trade allowance, reduce emission reduction at very low cost. Although it was majorly focused on sulfur dioxide rather than CO2, the concept became very important foundation for the later carbon market. However, the United Nations Framework on United States Framework on Convention on Climate Change was adopted in 1992. It established the principle that countries should work together, stabilize GHG emissions, gases concentration, and prevent dangerous climate change. Though there is no, it is not created a major carbon trading system like Kyoto Protocol, which was introduced in 1997, with aiming, meeting all the country, especially developed country, to reduce the GHG emission commitment and introduce new market, which is like a clean development mechanism, joint implementation, and international emission trading platform. So this registry, especially clean development mechanism, is a major registry which was developed in 2005 onwards, keeping the Kyoto Protocol commitment, first commitment from 2008 to 2012. Thereafter, there is a second commitment will start from 2012 Jan to December 2020. Can you go to the next slide? So Kyoto Protocol majorly focus on 6 GHG emission gases, which are like carbon dioxide, methane, nitric oxide, perfluorocarbon, hydrochlorocarbon, sulfur hexafluorocarbon. The global potential for these GHG emissions are differ. So carbon dioxide is one, when we say, for the methane, which is like 25 global warming potential, which means reducing 25 GHG emission, which is equivalent to one methane. Whereas sulfur hexafluoride is having a highest number of GWP, which is 5,800 GHG emission. It means reducing 5,800 GHG is equivalent to one sulfur hexafluoride. Is how the man-made GHG emission has been established. Abhishek, please go to next. Yeah. So what was the major changes happened in Paris Agreement, which started in 2015? So in the earlier Kyoto Protocol commitment, it was decided to reduce GHG emission commitment with developed countries, which was totally 88 countries. But thereafter, in 2015, there are total 195 countries agreed to reduce GHG emission, which including developing and developed country altogether, and aiming to reduce GHG emission less than 1.5%. And carbon economy over the 34 years. It start from 1997 carbon, Kyoto Protocol to till last year. So when the Kyoto Protocol, commitment period started from 2008 to 2012. Initially, we can say like 2008 to 2012. This is called as a golden period, where buyers are looking for carbon credit, and there are very less supply from developing country, and the price was going very high during that period, which is like selling in euros. Whereas when the first Kyoto Protocol commitment ended in 2012, thereafter it took more time to negotiate for the next commitment period, and you don't find the price what we expect we got in the initial stage came down drastically. So some of the older projects, if you look at the UNFCCC website, the CDM projects, where they couldn't sell their credits till date, it was like only issued and kept in the registry itself. You can find it in the CDM registry. So this all, I have added a COP. COP means Conference of Parties. This is a UNFCCC conduct a conference of parties annually to involve all other countries in one place and take a major decision, and further negotiation will happen. So thereafter, COP 95. Just scroll up. I just want to continue. Yeah, thank you. So initially, the voluntary market was there from 2008 onwards, but from 2018 onwards, you can say like a rebirth for the voluntary carbon market, which is like where gold standard and other registry. And also there is a regional carbon registry has been started, like development of CCTS in India and other country has been established. Yes, yeah, this is the overall journey of carbon economy. Yes, we can go to the next slide. So compliance and voluntary market. What is the major difference between the compliance market? Compliance market run by the government regulations, so it's a mandatory for every country to reduce GHG emissions. Whereas voluntary carbon market is a there is no such commitment with any government regulations. So developing any companies who can buy the credit and reduce the emission reduction goal as per their commitment. Can I go to the next slide? So then what are the major types of credit you can see? This has been defined in the 3 different types. One is removal, reduction, and avoidance. So The majorly we can say like a removal, the total carbon removal from the atmosphere and stored in the stored for a longer period, like 100 years or more than that. Usually we can refer Apollo projects and CDR projects, then biochar projects. When it comes to a reduction, it is small amount of emission has been reduced from the atmosphere, not completely. Example for the reduction is cookstove projects and shifting from thermal project to renewable projects. When it comes to avoidance, it's like it's not like there are already existing project forest which we need to prevent for further reduction of emissions. Yes, next please. In the market, we can see more than 20 registries currently, but there are only small group of registries are dominating in the market. Those are Verra, Gold Standard, Isometric, Puro, PlanView. These are some of the registry I have added here. Next slide, please. So when it comes to overall how the project can be registered under voluntary or compliance market, these are the standard steps we can say. Like initially, we need to do this feasibility study. Thereafter, we have to develop a project design documents and identify proper methodology for your project. Choose a particular registry. When the next stage would be like submit the project for listing. All the registry are not having the option of going for listing. There are certain registry having the option of listing the project. Once you list the project, it is available in the particular registry. But any offtake deal can happen through the listing by getting the project information. Thereafter, we have to appoint a VVP. This is a validation and verification body who does the validation for your project and check whether project is additional or not. Additional means whether the project is non-viable project. Those projects are applicable for going further and registering the project. And there will be a desk review, field which will be conducted during the validation stage. So thereafter, the project is satisfied with all the registry requirement, then it goes to the registry. So once the project registered, you can claim carbon revenue for further 7-year renewable, 10-year, or up to 40 or more than that. That it depends on type of project we are doing. Usually the length of the registration may go from 3 months to 12 months or a bit higher. So I have taken the average number. It's again very depends on the registries. Once the project registered, you can claim carbon revenue for multiple years as per the crediting period mentioned in the PDD. And we want to note one thing that up to registry, all the data, whatever we are submitting to the VEP or registry, those are a estimated value, not on the actual value. The actual monitoring will start only after registration of the project. Once the project registered, you can claim carbon revenue maybe like yearly or twice yearly once by preparing the monitoring report. And again, we need to appoint a VVP for further verification process. And once the credits are issued in the market, then you can sell it, you can retain or transfer those credit to the buyer. So this process usually take 3 to 5 years. It depends on registry and the project proponent. Yes, thank you. You can go to next. So monitoring, reporting and verification versus digital monitoring, reporting. What is the difference between these two? Earlier, when clean development mechanism was there, we have developed the MRB, and now most of the registers are shifting to DMRB, which is compared to the traditional way of doing MRB, which requires a lot of data to be collected manually, and that ground visit is required, and there's a lot of manual interaction also take time, and we cannot do it frequently, like yearly once we can say we can go into the MRB to collect data. wherever there is a forestry project, it also takes a lot of time, and it's very difficult scenario to gather all the documents. So when you shifting to the DMR, digital monitoring, report and verification, compared to MRE, it's a very easy, where we need to have a software like satellite dependent and GAC. There is a drone option is available, and we can collect the data frequently with less time, and also we can present this data to the validation body frequently without further delays. Please go to the next slide. So the carbon rating agency, why this carbon rating agency are important? When we say the project is registered, validated under registry, but what buyer looks actually, the buyer want their credit to be like high quality, integrity. So they want particular project specific to check the data based on the registry data available in the registry, and also they can start from the ex ante and also ex post. There are different rating model comes when you go with the Selvera, B0, Celex, or Renotex. These are the major rating agency available in the market. So these are like majorly involved by the buyer, or can involve them at the time at the beginning of the project activity. So there will be rating depends on like AAA, AA. They are working independently. Once you appoint them, the rating will be deferred independently based on the project data. Can you go to the next slide? The ICBCM, Integrated Council Voluntary Carbon Market Mechanism. Sorry. So they are like approving the methodologies for different registries and assess the carbon registries as well. The core, they are mainly working on 10 core carbon principles, which is like governance, emission impact, and sustainable development. So they are mainly assess the project and approve the methodology. As per now, the highest approved methodology and methodologies under ICBCM, where 9 project methods were already approved by ICBCM. So now most of the registries wanted to approve with ICBCM. That is what even buyer looking for those credits. Yeah, so what is the feature of carbon registry? Like currently there is MRV, and already most of the registries have started AI and digital MRV. And recently we have seen a couple of weeks back, even Isometric started AI in their verification report, which usually take like 4 weeks to complete the verification. Now it is happening within a day. So we can like futurely we can expect like Article 6 integration, which is already recently like collaborated with Verran Gold Standard together and implementing Article 6 tool. So similarly, we can see like later even the registry also involved into the registry issuance, also the trading platform. Currently, we don't have that option in most of the registry, but we can see these are the options in future operating the registry. Yeah. So that's all from my end in terms of registry. Thank you very much. Now my colleague Niti will take further. Thank you.
Yeah, a very good evening, everyone. Thanks, Sangamesh, for taking us through different registries and their operations. So now let us talk about the market pricing, how it works for the carbon markets. So although carbon market is a one market, but there are multiple price points. For example, based upon the market, that is compliance and voluntary, which are the major instrument for compliance, which are regulated by the regulatory bodies, and for voluntary depends upon the project-based carbon credits. So the primary driver for compliance are the legal obligations set by any country and their legal authorities, and for voluntary, it is driven by the corporate climate commitments. And the price characteristics for compliance market are majorly policy driven, which are generally higher. And for voluntary, it is depends upon the project and the quality and are quality dependent. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now let us see the historical data, how the carbon market pricing has evolved from 2015 to till date. So let us break it down into period from 2015 to 18. The market phase was majorly low prices and higher volume. And the primary drive force was majorly for corporate offsetting. From 2019 to 20, it was a rapid growth into the carbon market pricing, and the primary driver was a net zero commitment set by the corporates. And for 2022 has seen a market peak price in terms of trading in pricing also due to the strong corporate demands. And 2023, the market correction, like majorly earlier it was focusing on high volume, low prices, but now from 2023, integrity concerns and oversupply has come into picture. So after that, from 2024, more stabilization has come into the market. People are not only focusing on volume, but rather than they are focusing on quality differentiation. And in the present 2025 to 2026, there are majorly quality driven market, which is dependent upon the ratings, the removals, and the compliance demand. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now let us see for the voluntary carbon market, how the market has changed from volume to value. As I told earlier, the initial phase for the carbon market was a volume driven market, that is focusing on issuing the trading larger volumes of carbon credits. Yeah. With lower prices often encouraged to prioritize affordability, means the buyers were majorly looking for carbon credits which are more affordable. It was majorly a kind of, you can say, uh, uh, compliance for them. They are not doing it, wholeheartedly focusing on the carbon market, that they are actually making an impact. So this was the limited differentiation between high and low quality projects. But now what difference it has made, it is like the buyer, they are focusing on additionality, permeance, transparency, and actually what these credits are impact they are making behind each credit. This is the major difference between the carbon trades taking place earlier and now. So at this moment, high integrity credits are beginning to command, which are majorly driving the stronger market recognition. So what is the key message we can take is, buyers are not only focusing how credits they are buying or retiring, rather what impact each credit is making. That is the major, the shift the buyer mindset has taken place. Next slide, please. Yeah. So when we talk about the high value carbon credit, what actually, the parameters which defines a high value carbon credit. So majorly there are 6 factors which define a high value carbon credit. That is, first of all, additionality. That first of all, the buyer look whether the project will be financially viable without the carbon credit or not. So additionality is one of the major reason. Permeance, measurability, as Sangamesh told, that nowadays DMRV has come into picture rather than on only MRV or site visits. DMRV is also a very important factor from a buyer point of view as well. So measurability, verification, like from which bodies these are verified, from third party. Even the buyers nowadays are looking at what credits they are buying from a project. They are verified by whom, so, and what labels they carry, and what are the, how transparent the carbon credits and the whole project, that process is taking place, the transparency, and what co-benefits it take place along with other benefits. That is, whether it is biodiversity focusing, whether it is creating some social impact or community benefits. These all 6 factors make a carbon credit and differentiate from a normal carbon credit to a high value carbon credit. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we can very clearly say that quality premium is reshaping carbon pricing. For example, let us take an ARR credit. That was, that is a high quality credit. Earlier, that was being traded, for example, USD 14 per ton CO2 at the start of 2025. Now, the same project, if it has got a more more quality, more value, more adding to more social benefits, and community project based, the same project pricing can go from USD 24 by September 2025. And further, the same credit price with more higher values will reach to higher prices by the end of 2025 September, you can see. So this is how the same project, but only the what makes the difference is what are the values and what are the pricing and the credits that particular carbon credit takes place. This is what differentiates from a normal carbon credit to a quality premium carbon credits. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now we have seen that the 6 factors that define a carbon credits pricing, for example, permeance, additionality, measurability, and what other co-benefits take place. Now, also these are not only the factors which drive, but also depending upon different factors. For example, what is the project type? Whether it is a removal or an avoidance. For example, a removal will value more pricing as compared to avoidance. What is the credit integrity? Means the same 6 factors we told: additionality, baseline, and verification quality. Also, vintage plays a very important role. For example, vintage wise, a buyer is looking for a vintage, for example, 2 years older, that we will talk later in more detail, that will have a higher price as compared to a vintage looking for 7 or 6 years earlier. So vintage wise also the prices differs. Permeance we have talked about, registry and the methodology. So we have seen that there are different registries. So the registries credibility and how they are functioning, how they are verifying, that also plays a very important role while selecting a project from a buyer's point of view. Also ratings, whether a project is CCP level or Silvera level, or how the third party is risk assessments, all those ratings also affect a carbon credit pricing along with the co-benefits and the demands. Next slide, please. Yeah. Likewise, I was talking about why vintage matters while deciding the pricing impact. For example, latest 0 to 2 years, the price indicative relative price for that will goes around 90 to 100% what value we will be finding it now. But for the same project, if the vintage is older by 3 to 5 years, the value will decrease by 70 to 90%. Followed by 6 to 8%, 6 to 8 years, it will be more lower by 45 to 70%, and greater than 8 years, it will get a value of 25 to 55%. Next slide, please.
Just a second. To the attendees, you could post your questions. If you have any questions, you can post it in the Q&A section, and our speakers would be answering it in the end of the webinar. So let's continue this.
Yeah. So the price trends for our carbon credits are shifting towards carbon removals. As we all know, the carbon removals, which is actually making an impact into the carbon credit market, are 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 of higher volume, higher cost as compared to an avoidance credit. The current transition is basically from quality, integrity, and measurable impact rather than focusing on volume. And like suppose earlier, if any buyer was looking for a carbon credit, it hardly made any difference for removal or avoidance. I'm talking about 10 years back, 10 to 15 years back. But now the buyers are actually buying credits, which is, creating a real impact. So in this case, removals definitely get a plus point because that are actually making some difference into the carbon credit markets. So when you talk about the what are the pricing, so from 2025 that off-taker agreements, the you can say an average price goes around USD 12.3 billion agreements have been signed. Similarly, for USD 180 per credit across future contract supply forwards have been signed by 2025. These are all for removals, how it is being impacted. Yeah. Now let us see what are the emerging opportunities in carbon markets. So high integrity ARR projects, that is afforestation, reforestation, definitely good to go from the buyer's point of view. Biochar, which is measurable and durable storage, are also getting a very good traction from the buyer's point of view. Direct air capture are also having very high permeance, are also one of the top choices from the buyers. CORSIA and compliance linked demand, Article 6, International Carbon Market Development, and India and the emerging market, expanding carbon market infrastructure are you can say the emerging opportunities into the carbon markets. So definitely removals are playing a major role in terms of spot and majorly forwards also as compared to avoidance. Next slide, please. Yeah. So what are the major takeaways and where are the carbon prices heading? Sorry. So basically, it is majorly focusing on quality driven, and removals are getting a good traction, and compliance and Article 6 developments could reshape the entire market. So the future winners, you can say, for the carbon credits would be the projects which are have high integrity, which are more durability, measurability, and acceptance are going to get a strong buyer acceptance in the near future. Next, please. Yeah. So this was all about the carbon pricing, how and what factors define the carbon pricing, and which projects are getting more traction from a buyer's point of view, and what the key drivers that drive a carbon credit pricing into the present scenario. So that's all from my side, and if you have any Q&A, please let us know. We will be happy to answer.
So thank you, Neetu. I think we covered a lot of ground today, from the evolution of carbon markets and registries to market integrity, pricing dynamics, quality differentiation, and emerging opportunities. We'll now open the floor for Q&A. Any of you, if you have questions, you can please post it in the Q&A section, and we'll be addressing one after the other. I think if you have an icon to raise your hand also, or you want to speak, you can let us know. We have a question from Haripriya. How significant will Article 6 and compliance market be in shaping voluntary carbon credits prices over the next few years? Sangamesh or Neetu, any of you can take that.
I would like to say that yes, Article 6 and compliance markets are definitely, going to shape the future of the carbon market. Once, we get a more clarity upon the Article 6 and the compliance markets by the regulatory of each and every country, the prices are really going to, the market shaping, and the prices are really going to be good. And we will be getting a more understanding how the market will evolve. So it is really going to play a major role into the carbon market.
Okay, second question is from Richa Srivatsava. Hello, I wanted to understand the process to take up once carbon credits have been obtained, where to sell, how to sell, which platform to choose. Sangamesh, you want to take that?
Yes. See, currently there are few platforms we can say, like you want to sell carbon credits. One is the bilateral agreement you can have with the buyer. There is the like initial stage we need to make for the buyer for our credit. That is one way. And then the other option like CTX, Carbon Trade Exchange, and APX, that is another platform where you can publish your project and look for a buyer. So these are the two ways you can look. Other than this, there is an option in bulletin board in Verra. So through that you can also express your credit vintage and detail of the projects. So if buyer are willing to buy your credit, then definitely they will approach. So also there are other registry. If you go to Bureau or Isometric, you can find the buyer detail. You can directly approach them and try to connect and sell the credits. Yeah, these are the few options.
Okay, next question is from Zakir Hussain. who is the authority to make registration? That's from the first part of the presentation.
See, project proponent who is authorized to register their project, and we can also appoint consultants like to take up further validation process, and the project focal point should be the project owner who can manage the entire registry platform. Yes, I hope I have addressed your question.
Okay, the next question is on what do you think will be the biggest factor? I think this is for Neetu, determining carbon credit prices by 2030, regulation, corporate demand, technology, or credit quality. As carbon markets become more segmented and buyers increasingly prioritize high integrity durable credits, how might these factors interact to influence pricing, market demand, and relative value of different credit types? Could regulation and buyer acceptance accelerate a strong premium in high quality removal in long term?
Okay, so for this, I would say that definitely quality will determine the premium. That is, a carbon credit who has got more additionality, double counting protection, delivery, and counterparty risk are definitely going to have a major role to, to play for the carbon credit pricing. Also, corporate demand determines how large the premium becomes. That is also a huge, a prime factor, because now the corporates, as I told, are very much focusing upon the quality credits. So, for example, there is a project for which every buyer is eyeing. Okay, that this is a very good project from all his check point of view. So, for the same project, many corporates, might be interested to take the offtakes from that project. So in that case, the competition will increase. So that will also impact the carbon credit pricing. Like how much value we have given to your project, that much demand, and that much, from the buyer's point of view, it will get traction. Also, technology will influence both the supply and the trust. For example, how transparent your project is, how faster you've executed the project. Because nowadays, what is happening? Although the removal projects, they take a lot of time for for their verification and validation completion. So in that case, a project proponent who works very hard to make the timeline as less as possible, whatever is feasible. So that will also bring a good traction for the project pricing. That yes, okay, like someone is not looking for 5 years, I can get this project offsets within 3 years or lesser than that. So that also plays a major role in determining the pricing, because definitely in near future, because right now when DMRV is coming slowly into picture and everything, the timeline is large, but over the period of time, definitely with new technologies, this time period will be reduced to some extent, what best can be possible. So that timing can also be a major factor in determining the carbon credit selling from a buyer's point of view. So definitely driven quality driven projects, how much the corporate demands and how they look for that a particular project, also the timing, will all these will play a very crucial role in determining a carbon credit pricing in the near future. Hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you, Neetu. And I think Sangamesh was addressing the role of AI and technology in reducing the time for the process of registration and verification. So, where do you see in the future, as we have seen, AI is an emerging in the industry right now? What is your prediction, or what is the standard that is being set with AI and technology in this process, in verification, registration, and issuance?
So currently, We can use the software available in the market. With particular technology, it's very difficult. It is again, depends on the PP who is going to adopt the technology. But currently, we have an option of using drone satellite images that will definitely help, gathering the data frequently rather than going to the field and collect a document, which usually take more time. So, yeah, that's how we can plan for reduce the time.
Okay. I think these are the set of questions we had from the attendees. Anything else you can post, or I think we can call it, we can close the webinar. Okay, so if that's it, then thank you, Sangamesh and Neetu, for this session, for sharing your insight and perspectives. I think one of the key takeaways from today's discussion is that carbon market is becoming increasingly quality driven, especially addressed by Neetu, which with factors such as integrity, permanence, measurability, verification, and buyer acceptance playing a much greater role in determining value. So thank you once again, everyone, for participating and also interacting through Q&As. We'll be back with more such webinars, and until then, please follow us on LinkedIn and stay updated as we keep updating on our LinkedIn posts. And thank you and have a great day.
Thank you everyone for the time and participation.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, everyone, for joining.